backtrack. And you should have kept my name out your mouth. As we go, how it all turned out. When you try to use my name for clout, keep on going, give me something you can talk
about. The courtroom's packed, the cameras roll, the lawyers talk, but they're taking a toll. The gavel's heavy, the clock ticks slow. We're all stuck here, ain't nowhere to go. Can we move on, get this show on the road? This trial's dragging, it's a heavy load. We're all tuned in, but it's taking too long. Tell me, y'all, can we move on? The YouTubers live, trying to make it fun, with a smile so wide, but we're all done.
Walk away from me.
The drama's thick, the tension's strong, but come on now, can we move along? Can we move on, get this show on the road? This trial's dragging, it's a heavy load. We're all tuned in, but it's taking too long. Tell me, y'all, can we move on? Every sidebar's like another delay. The jury's eyes are begging for a getaway. We're hanging on, but it's wearing thin. Let's wrap it up, let the end begin. Can we move on, get this show on the road? This trial's dragging, it's a heavy load. We're all tuned in, but it's taking too long. Tell me, y'all, can we move on?
Well, can we move on? Can we move on? If you're wondering what that song is about, one day I was working for my God knows how many hour that day. And, waiting for the next tweet, sometimes it goes a little slower than other times. And somebody said, I was talking about something else. They were talking about Cocoa Puff. I just learned that word. I think a lot of people just learned that word, Cocoa Puff, euphemism or whatever. I mean, I guess it's a word. So we're just kind of like, haha, what was that song? Cocoa Puff, whatever. Like, just kind of trying to pass the time till the next tweet or whatever. And someone in the chat was like, can we just move on? Can we move on, please? And I was like, girl, where do you want me to move on to? Like, she wanted me to teleport inside the courtroom and start singing a song or something. Anyway, that's what the song's about. I have some updates for y'all before we get started today. Today's Friday, June 6th, 2025. It is, I think it's the 4th week of testimony. I have been battling an illness for like at least a week, and it gets better and then I start to feel bad again. So whatever, refuse to go to any doctors. No, thank you. But your body, your choice, girl. Anyway, I mean, I will, like I do, from time to time, but just for this, I feel like, no, I don't want to. They're going to try and give me some, never mind. Okay. So I have some updates for y'all before we get into the testimony for today, which has not, I don't believe it is even started yet. It's 9:06 a.m. right now. So there were some loose ends from the last few streams I want to tie up quickly. Starting with, I think, Jonathan Oddi. Yes. Okay. We have a Jonathan Oddi courtroom update. He had trial yesterday, like a hearing, a pretrial hearing. and I was unable to go. I got caught up doing some filming for BJ Investigates. Excuse me. But Peanut Lee sure did go, and so here's the update. Jonathan Oddi update, June 5th, 2025, court hearing breakdown. So this is yesterday's court hearing. During the hearing, while discussing yet another delay in the doctor's long-awaited mental evaluation report, the state attorney made a curious statement. I don't know if the court has been briefed on the previous sidebar regarding some matters that are not necessarily a matter of public record. That's why we are in status docket. Okay, what is status docket? This tweet says it's a term more common in immigration cases where proceedings pause while another agency or court resolves a separate matter. Okay. So it's like a hold. What's this separate matter that they might be waiting on to resolve the Jonathan Oddi hearing issue? Because Jonathan Oddi is the guy who, pew-pewed up at the Trump Hotel, Trump Doral or whatever. And that incident happened like 6 years ago or something, 7 years ago. So what about his right to a speedy trial? What about Jonathan Oddi's right to a speedy trial? At this point, nobody's causing a ruckus. He hasn't gone to trial in 7 years. Well, look what we learned yesterday, that his case has some documents filed in status docket. This is a term more common in immigration cases where proceedings pause while another agency or court resolves a separate matter. In this context, it suggests a case delay due to external or sealed complications. This, I guess, I don't know if this is Peanut Lee saying this or like if it's a chat GPT analysis, but in any event, it says this indicates more than just a pending psychological evaluation. It could possibly refer to something beyond the evaluation, possibly to Oddi's sealed cooperation or testimony in another case, aka possibly the Diddy trial. The mental health report has already been cited as the reason for every delay since October. That was whenever Peanut Lee began attending, and likely even before that. The doctor's evaluation is already on the record. It's not secret, and it doesn't require sidebar to discuss. The sealed language, reference to a prior sidebar, which we don't have access to, and the use of status docket all point to something deliberately shielded from the public. Maybe the psych report is real, but maybe it's also a cover. So here is like a transcript of sorts. She attended the hearing, so I'm assuming she just like took notes, wrote it down. The judge said, okay, so where does that take us? Good morning, Your Honor. This is Jonathan Oddi's case yesterday. Yes, the prosecutor for the state of Florida versus Jonathan Oddi. Mr. DeCoste is on Zoom, I believe. Thank you. Okay. The last I heard from Mr. DeCoste, the doctor needs 30 to 60 days, so I wouldn't be opposed to the 60-day status. There are, I don't know if the court has been briefed on the previous sidebar regarding some matters that are not necessarily a matter of public record. That is why we are in status docket. So here's the quote. The judge said, if I have been briefed, I don't recall. So I guess I can do that the next time, I guess, when Mr. DeCoste is here. So one of the lawyers didn't bother showing up. Okay, the prosecutor said, yes, sir. Because wasn't it a lady judge? Did they take the lady judge off? It's a different judge now? Because last hearings I went to, it was a lady judge. And this is saying, yes, sir. Okay, so 30 days, 60 days. So the prosecutor in Jonathan Oddi's case is asking for 2 more months, 30 more days. Mr. DeCoste, okay, he decides to show up. I don't know if this is for the prosecutor or if this is Jonathan Oddi's. Yeah, this is Jonathan Oddi's lawyer. Maybe a public defender. Jonathan Oddi's lawyer says, "Yes, Your Honor, I heard everything that the state said. I agree." Christopher DeCoste on behalf of Jonathan Oddi. Okay, and he says, "The response that I have from my expert is 30 to 60 days are needed for completion of the report. We were able to check off, okay, yeah, this is what we got news of yesterday. We were able to check off a big box this past week. We finally have an accurate transcript of his statement." So there's a transcript of Jonathan Oddi's statement. "Okay," the judge says, "so you want me to set it in 60 days or do you need a few days after that?" He's kind of like, "Whatever works for the court." The clerk is like, "August 13th. All right, thank you. Good for me, works for me." Okay, so the next hearing on this, next status update hearing, I guess, is August the 13th. Right now, today, it is June 6th. This court was yesterday, June 5th. So that is the Jonathan Oddi update that I wanted to run by y'all. Now, we also got the transcript from Diddy getting warned yesterday by the judge. This is from Megan Cuniff. I hope I'm saying that right. She is a really good court journalist, courtroom journalist, reporter, and she covers a lot of cases. She goes to court. She's gone to like Busby cases, if I recall correctly. She's really good. She tweeted 11 hours ago. Here's the transcript of Judge Subramanian warning Diddy's lawyer today about Diddy nodding vigorously and looking at the jury. The judge said this is absolutely unacceptable. So she got the transcripts and she's posted them here on her Twitter. I did share it, but I want to read through it here so we can see exactly what, verbatim, word for word, the court transcript says the judge told Diddy yesterday and what happened. "Let me make a record, Mr. Agnifilo." Okay, so then Agnifilo's like, "Yes, judge." Then the judge said, "I was very clear this morning that there were not to be any facial expressions, other attempts to have any interaction with the jury whatsoever, any influence on them, on the jury whatsoever. And I could not have been clearer in terms of what I said. You heard me, right?" Agnifilo said, "I did." So look, we're getting indication that the judge already had to say this exact thing this morning, meaning yesterday morning, the judge is already having to say this. So now the judge is saying it again. Yesterday, he said, "I already told you this morning." The court said, "Well, Agnifilo, there was a line of questioning where your client was nodding vigorously and looking at the jury. And there was a subsequent moment where we had a sidebar and I looked and I saw your client looking at the jury and nodding vigorously during that line of questioning. That is absolutely unacceptable. Is it going to happen again, Mr. Agnifilo?" Agnifilo said, "It's not going to happen again, Judge." Okay, but then there's more. Megan says, quote, "If it happens again, if it happens even once, I will hear an application from the government to give a curative instruction." Look what the judge says. "It cannot happen again. If it happens again, if it happens even once, I will hear an application from the government to give a curative instruction to the jury, which, Mark Agnifilo, I will remind you, you do not want. Or alternatively, I might even consider taking further measures, which could result in the exclusion of your client from the courtroom." This is Diddy getting kicked out of his own trial if he keeps over there at the jury. Do you understand that, Mark Agnifilo? He said, "I understand, Judge." All right. So I want you to have a conversation with your client, meaning Diddy, to make sure that he understands, and everyone should understand that I really mean it, that there should be no efforts whatsoever to have any interaction with this jury. Any whatsoever. This is unequivocal. Agnifilo said, understood, Judge. He's like, I don't need you to just understand. I need you to go talk to your client. Prosecutors. Okay, so then Megan, and shout out to her again, she went and dug up in the transcript the earlier incident that the judge was referencing when he said, I thought I made myself clear this morning. She went found this morning, and this was all yesterday, but I'm wanting to supplement the coverage from yesterday with the transcript. And shout out to Megan. Let me put her link. I'm going to put the link in the chat too, so y'all can go give her a follow. Okay. Megan said prosecutors raised the issue earlier in the day as Nicole Westmoreland was cross-examining Bonna, which is Cassie's friend. Quote, so our concern, this is the feds, they're telling the judge yesterday, quote, so our concern is the defendant is testifying by nodding affirmatively in response to Miss Westmoreland's questions. Here's the transcript. Okay, yeah, so I want you to go have a conversation with your client to make sure that he understands, and everyone should understand that I really mean it. There should be no efforts whatsoever to have any interaction with this jury. So this is like the second time yesterday Diddy had been fussed at. Here's the first time right here. The prosecutor said, Your Honor, I don't have anything more to say on that, but I do want to put on the record, Your Honor, that we understand the defendant was nodding furiously. This is them earlier in the day, in the morning, putting the judge on notice. Diddy was nodding furiously in response to some of the questioning, and so we just wanted to make that clear on the record. The judge said, outside of the presence of the jury? The prosecutor said, no, Your Honor, no. It was in the presence of the jury in response to Nicole Westmoreland's questioning of Bonna. So during Bonna testifying, Diddy is breaking his neck, nodding so hard, and he's looking at the jury and he's saying, like, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. Okay. So then Diddy's lawyer pipes in and she says, this is Shapiro, Alexandra Shapiro. She says, I think that's what Your Honor was asking us to take care of. That was my interpretation, to remind Mr. Combs of the court's instruction. The judge said, well, I'm concerned. I'm concerned in both directions of improperly influencing the jury. So the judge is saying, y'all are putting me in a position where I'm going to have to do something one way or the other. And in either way, it could improperly influence the jury. The judge said, I'm concerned. So what would you propose to put on the record that's in the presence of the jury, Alexandra? This is the judge asking Diddy's lawyer, what do you propose I do then now, Miss Shapiro? Because no matter what I do, y'all are probably appealing it. So what should I do on the record now that your client has been nodding and looking at the jury? Here is the prosecutor. The prosecutor butts in and she says, well, Your Honor, listen, I'm not saying we have to put something on the record that Mr. Combs is nodding furiously in front of the jury. I just wanted to put it on the record. General reminder. So she's saying, I'm not saying we need to read it on the record in front of the jury. I just want to put it on the record here so we can have a record so nobody forgets this happened. The judge said, okay, Yes, please make your record. You're making a record of what happened. Is there anything further that you would like to add? And then the lead prosecutor goes, no, thank you, Your Honor. Oh, no, she says, yes. The lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, says, thank you, Your Honor. The reason the two are related is that Miss Westmoreland is asking these questions, right? Like she's saying things like, isn't it true you're a liar? Aren't you lying straight to the jury? And here's Diddy nodding furiously. So the prosecutor is saying, look, I have concerns. The reason the two are related is here's Miss Westmoreland asking these questions, and then Diddy is testifying from the counsel table because he is nodding his head furiously. So basically, because Diddy can't speak in this courtroom, his lawyer is doing it for him, and he's basically able to testify, nodding his head up and down, looking at the jury in a clear and obvious attempt to influence them. The transcript says, the reason the two are related is that Miss Westmoreland is asking these questions, and then the defendant, that's Diddy, is testifying from counsel table by nodding his head vigorously, yes, in response to Miss Westmoreland's questions. So that is the issue we have, Your Honor. And the jury is seeing it. And then we see them writing down, okay? So the jury is writing notes down as Diddy is nodding furiously and vigorously. The jury's looking straight at him and getting their notes written down. I could see why the prosecution would be concerned. So our concern is that Diddy is testifying by nodding affirmatively in response to Miss Westmoreland's questions, because here's the jury writing notes down about it. The court said, I was very clear in my instructions this morning, and everyone understood what I meant. Listen to this. Because there was an email chain, the judge says, about this between the parties, and I saw it myself, so I called a sidebar. The judge saw Diddy furiously, vigorously nodding, and that is why the judge called the sidebar. The judge called everyone up and said, make him stop nodding vigorously. I did not see it in the morning or whatever. I was actually focused on the questions being asked and answered during the actual testimony. But I take it the government observed this during the questioning. Maureen Comey said, yes, Your Honor, we saw it during questioning as well. And yesterday, NBC reported a lot of their reporters have also observed this behavior, including the lady that does the sketches. Diddy has been looking and smiling and nodding at the jury the whole trial, according to NBC News. The assistant U.S. attorney said that she wasn't suggesting that it was Diddy's lawyer who was doing this on purpose. It's that Diddy is doing it without her knowledge. So it's like, we're not trying to get Miss, Nicole Westmoreland sanctioned or nothing like that. We don't even know she knows he's doing it. She's up here doing her job, and here's Diddy. The prosecutor said, I'm not suggesting Miss Westmoreland is intentionally trying to do this. I'm suggesting that the defendant is himself, Diddy, is trying to take advantage of the leading questions without Miss Westmoreland's knowledge. He's doing this to try and testify by nodding vigorously, yes, in response to her questions. Your Honor, Diddy's lawyer goes, the other lawyer, not the one that they're talking about. This is Alexandra Shapiro. She says, Your Honor, I don't think that's fair. But I will, since I'm sitting at the counsel table, I will go over to him before questioning resumes and re-warn him of Your Honor's admonition. So she doesn't think it's fair that Diddy can't nod vigorously. All right, so those were two of the updates. There was another update here. Christina Khorram was named yesterday, at least kind of unofficially, as an agent or a co-conspirator of Diddy. USA Today reported, the woman at the center of Diddy's inner circle may take the stand. For weeks, Diddy has watched from a courtroom table as witness after witness has taken the stand, unraveling a wide-ranging tale of alleged abuse and conspiracy. The common thread uniting many of the witnesses that they used to work for Diddy. Ex-assistants, stylists, and artists for his Bad Boy Records have come forward, some willingly and some not. But they've testified about a man whose status as a public icon allegedly enabled him to be a private monster. On Thursday, yesterday, June 5th, a statement from prosecutors that they may have caught the big kahuna. I don't know what that means. Who's the big kahuna? I don't know. Is it Christina Khorram because she's going to be the witness? Is it Diddy because is it the main evidence? I don't know what do they mean? What do they mean caught the big kahuna? Maybe it means they're going to get her to testify. Yeah, her, I guess is what they're trying to say. It's her. She's the big kahuna they caught. How? Anyway, in an aside with the judge, lawyers for the government called Christina Khorram an agent and co-conspirator, okay? In an aside with the judge, they were talking to the judge, and the government called KK, quote, an agent and co-conspirator, marking the first time she's been referred to that way. The language implies Christina Khorram has likely reached an agreement with the prosecution and will testify. I don't know how it implies that, but that's just what they're saying right here. USA Today. Should KK take the stand, she would likely be the closest person inside Diddy's alleged criminal enterprise to take the stand. The government has accused Diddy of leading a Promethean lifestyle. That I think that means he flew too close to the sun. Powered by his wealth and fame and propelled relentlessly forward by a combination of intimidation, manipulation, violence, and even our word. To accomplish that, Diddy allegedly enlisted an entourage of paid support staff and enablers who lived a life most mortals could only dream of. Lavish, nonstop, like Diddy himself, at the white-hot center of fame, money, and power atop the entertainment world. This is what prosecutors say. And at the center of it was Christina Khorram. In March, 2 months before Diddy's trial began, Christina Khorram denied any involvement in the case or the flurry of civil lawsuits aimed at her former boss, calling any allegations untrue. For months, she said, horrific accusations have been made about me in various lawsuits regarding my former boss. Her statement read, these false allegations of my involvement are causing irreparable and incalculable damage to my reputation and the emotional well-being of myself and my family. I have never condoned or aided and abetted the sexual assault of anyone, nor have I ever given substances unwillingly or whatever to anyone. The idea that I could be accused of playing a role in or even being a bystander to the R of anyone is beyond upsetting, disturbing, and unthinkable. That is not who I am, and my heart goes out to all the victims of sexual assault. But if Khorram testifies, she will be joining a growing cadre of ex-employees who allegedly helped Diddy run his empire, and now they could be the cause of the undoing of this empire. Some legal experts say their testimony, and that of more insiders to come, will bolster the prosecutor's allegations that Diddy oversaw a movable party operation that crossed the line into becoming a global criminal enterprise designed to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. It seems like each and every day, the testimony gets worse and worse for Sean Combs, said David Ring, a civil trial lawyer specializing in sexual assault cases, who represented one of Harvey Weinstein's victims in a civil case. He said in a previous interview, he said, and I think we're going to see more employees come forward who have to admit on the stand that they enabled these criminal actions because they felt like they were pressured into it. All right. So I wanted to say that they were reporting that over there. Let's go to Inner City Press and see where we stand on his reporting. Okay. Before the jury came in, the judge said, this is 39 minutes ago. So now we're on to today. It's 9:32. So about 40 minutes ago, about 39, it says 39 minutes ago. What about the screenshot? The judge says. What about the screenshot of texts between Cassie and KK? Alexandra Shapiro, Diddy's lawyer, said only the text should be admitted, not the photo. The assistant U.S. attorney said the jurors should know that it's a screenshot, not the original text. My error was only looking at the first page. I apologize. The judge said you may like a screenshot as opposed to a text. And then the prosecutor starts to cut the judge off. And he said, I'm not done. Oh, she said, I'm sorry for interrupting you. The judge said, I understand. I'm just not sure this is the hill you want to die on. Diddy's lawyer, Jason Driscoll, he don't ever talk. Here he come. He said, Your Honor, these text messages. Okay, sorry. I had to read through what they were saying first because it's hard to explain it sometimes when I just don't know where it's going. Okay, so this is very interesting. These texts have been being argued over for a couple days. They've been trying to keep these texts out. Diddy has. They've been trying to keep the text messages out. And if they come in, they've wanted then to bring in a whole bunch of other text messages that they say gives context, but the government says it's hearsay. Well, they're arguing yet again before the jury comes in this morning about these text messages, and it's text messages between Cassie and KK. Now, all of this stuff is behind secret seal, so we can only kind of speculate as to what these might say based on little hints and clues we'll get here and there. You have, all right, the judge is saying, what about the screenshot of the text messages between Cassie and Christina Khorram? Diddy's lawyer said only the text message should be admitted, not the screenshot of the text message. The jurors know it's a screenshot and not the text. So we could just, the assistant U.S. attorney is basically saying, the feds are basically saying, we could just tell the jury it's a screenshot, Your Honor. Why can't we just tell them that? The judge said, you may like the screenshot as opposed to the texts, but I'm not sure this is the hill you want to die on, assistant U.S. attorney. Diddy's lawyer said, these texts, I think this is a quote. Look, you have thousands of videos of my performing every weekend on your phone. They are, okay, you have thousands of videos of my performing every weekend on your phone. That's all it says. But I'm wondering if what this is actually Diddy's lawyer standing up going, all right, Your Honor, these texts, you have thousands of videos of me performing on your phone every weekend. They're backward looking, Your Honor. Every weekend, thousands of videos every weekend. These are backward looking statements, which are hearsay. They're being used to support the truth of the matter asserted. We argue that Diddy was upfront about the fact that he was in an open poly relationship. We argue Diddy was upfront about the non-monogamous nature of the relation, as Jane said. Okay, so this is bringing in Cassie, Christina Khorram into Jane because it's about Jane. So again, just all I can do is piece together because they don't make the stuff public for like 2 weeks. And when they do, it's probably going to be redacted. We're never going to know who's Jane unless something catastrophic happens. I mean, I'm trying not to learn who's Jane. It's kind of hard. People love doing the doxing. In their opening, the assistant U.S. attorney said, in Diddy's opening statement, Teeny Garagos, who was so proud, she attacked Jane's credibility, called it all consensual, Your Honor. Teeny Garagos said this was all consensual. As you heard yesterday, Jane actually felt coerced. They opened the door by including this stuff in the opening statements, and so we should be able to get these text messages in. The judge said, you're right, they are admissible, to rebut the defense's opening statement. So it is appropriate to introduce those statements, actually. Yes, it is. Diddy's lawyer said, but your Honor, the government sent us 6 years of text messages, and then they somewhat reduced them. We stand by our objections. The foundation has not been laid. The judge said the government should lay the foundation. They said, we have laid it. All right. Judge says, bring in the jury. Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey is the one doing the questioning here. And she starts off with questioning Jane Doe about 9:20-ish this morning, 9:22. Good morning. How many times did you travel to Las Vegas? Jane said, I went once on Diddy's plane. He was hosting an event. Then he wanted entertainment for the night. We had that. What do you mean? Jane said, an entertainer? We had relations. What did going off the grid mean? Okay, so this might be a little hint into Diddy's album, Love Off the Grid. Is the whole album about freak offs? Hold on, let me retweet this Love Off the Grid. Okay. What did going off the grid mean? Getting free? Diddy called you a freak? Jane said, yes. He wanted me to be wild and sexual. Okay. So did you ask Diddy if the entertainers could wear protection? Yes, I did. That first time with Don and another time. But then Diddy guilt tripped me out of it. It wasn't something he wanted to see. What was his tone? Jane said his tone was condescending. Did he say why he didn't want the entertainer to wear protection? Yeah, he said he didn't want to see it. And did you raise it ever when sober and not in a hotel room? Jane said, yes, I did. Was this ever recorded? She said, yes. Was this ever recorded? Were these interactions ever recorded on camera? She said, yes, once that I'm aware of. I'm trying to ask the entertainer if he can wear protection and he's looking for it. Oh my gosh. Are they showing her a video? Y'all. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, this is nasty. Oh, I rebuke. I rebuke. Okay, listen. This is a public record. We're all adults. I'm not going to be able to read exact words. And I'm certain that Inner City Press isn't typing all the exact words either, but woo, this is raunchy. Okay, so they're pulling up a video, a recording. Y'all, they're jumping right into look, the freak off tapes have officially entered the actual courtroom. The jury is the only ones that can see it. Wow. This is horrible. Okay. They didn't pull these up when Cassie was on the stand, but they're having Jane Doe sit through hers. Did you ever raise wanting the entertainer to use protection? Did you ever raise that when sober and not in a hotel room? Yes. Was it ever recorded? Yes. One time that I'm aware of. I'm trying to ask the entertainer in the recording if he can wear a protection, and he's looking for it. The assistant U.S. attorney said, "I'd like to call up this exhibit with an aide. Did you listen to this?" She said, "Yes." "And did you read the transcript that's up on the screen?" And Jane said, "Yes, but the screen is not visible to the gallery, only the jury." Scratchy audio played. Okay, let's start at 8 minutes and 20 seconds. When you said, "I think they're in the chair," what were you referring to? She said, "Protection." "And what did you understand that Diddy meant when he said you were just taking that beep?" Jane said, I thought he meant that we had already, consummated the act once before. And so just keep going or whatever." And when he said, "If you don't touch yourself right now," what was he actually saying? Jane said to just move on and stop worrying about asking for the protection. "And why did you think you needed permission from Diddy for the man having relations with your body to wear protection?" Objection overruled. Sidebar? Sure. It is a kind of complicated question. Why did you think you needed permission from Diddy for the man having relations with your body to wear protection? Now, they are going into a sidebar, but that gives us time to check out the other updates and things that have happened in the court. Okay. 1 hour, 1 minute ago, the judge was back on the bench. 44 minutes ago, the lawyers were discussing evidentiary issues before testimony begins. The prosecutors and the defense attorneys are discussing summary charts of text messages. Okay, so they were talking about summary charts of text messages that have already been admitted into evidence. The prosecutors want to highlight the charts for the jury. Maureen Comey said the prosecution team wants to include in the summary chart, a photo of Diddy. Oh, I see. They wanted to put it in the summary chart. They were arguing about summary charts, not evidence. These things were already into evidence. So I'm glad we are reading from different sources because it lets you piece together what's kind of being argued over. Again, y'all, all I can do is read from here. I do the best I can to make the best guesses I can, but nothing that I say should be taken as a fact. Really, we should be relying on like the transcripts and stuff before we consider things to be a fact, but I'm just kind of reading live what's being reported live. So this was 45 minutes ago. Prosecution and defense attorneys were discussing summary charts. So these are charts that they want to give to the jury and let them look at. These are charts of text messages that have already been admitted into evidence. The prosecutors want to highlight the charts for the jury. The prosecutor, Maureen Comey, said they want to include in the summary chart a screenshot, a photograph of Diddy's phone, showing messages between Diddy and Jane Doe. That was recovered from, so it's a photo of a phone. It's like phone screenshot photoception. Okay, so anyway, Maureen Comey said you can see Khorram's hand holding Diddy's phone, which shows Khorram's knowledge of events described in the text messages, and that Christina Khorram had access to Diddy's phone. So it's like Christina Khorram holding Diddy's phone, taking pictures of a screenshot on Diddy's phone with another phone, and then when that picture got stored to Christina Khorram's phone. Then the government took Christina Khorram's phone and found that picture, but it's a picture of her holding Diddy's phone. And so the government is saying, look, there's so much stuff you can actually infer from this picture. Like Christina Khorram's holding the phone. That's her hand. Christina had access to Diddy's phone. That's a big piece of evidence. And so that's what the government is arguing. Jane, 27 minutes ago, back on the stand. Maureen Comey questioning. 20 minutes ago, CNN.com, Jane testifies that Diddy wanted her to be wild and sexual. She traveled to Vegas with Diddy sometime around 2023. She flew on Diddy's private jet to get there. So, yes, they are planning on trying to seize this Gulf Stream from Diddy. Yes, they are. This is part of the enterprise. They're trying to loop in his businesses and his enterprises with the enterprise and the scheme and the racketeering activity. Also, ST, transportation for prostitution, all of that. She confirmed that she had relations with an entertainer in Vegas in 2023. She testified yesterday that entertainers were other men she would have relations with. So they didn't call them escorts, they called them entertainers. Jane said Diddy used the term freak to refer to her, sometimes by saying he wants his freak. She said it meant Diddy wanted her to be wild and sexual. Video recording captures conversation between Jane, Diddy, and another man. Jane said she asked Diddy to allow the men he directed her to have relations with to wear protection during hotel nights on several occasions. Diddy was typically dismissive, she said. A video recording of a hotel night captured a conversation between Diddy, Jane, and a man named Don. In the recording, Jane could be heard asking Don to wear protection, but Diddy intervened, expressing his disapproval. Prosecutor Maureen Comey asked Jane why she needed Diddy's permission to have the man she was having relations with to wear protection. Jane seemed to get emotional on the stand and said she was still trying to process that. She doesn't really know. She's like, I don't know why I felt like I needed his permission. Trying to process it. She said she didn't insist on using protection at that point because Diddy, then Diddy would have been unhappy. When asked why there was a recording of the hotel night, Jane said it was because Diddy liked recording her and the entertainers. So we got the recordings being attested to by Jane Doe on the stand right now. 2 hours ago. Okay, we already did that. All right, let's go to the NBC updates. Diddy's former girlfriend detailed freak-offs. Yesterday, Jane testified that she and Diddy shared a loving relationship beginning in 2021. After her first freak-off, which they called debaucheries and hotel nights, she said it became a Pandora's box situation where she felt like she had no choice but to oblige. The sessions could last between 24 and 30 hours with no sleep. As a single mother who came to depend on Diddy, I felt an obligation because I knew he was paying my rent. Jane returns to the witness stand for day 2, 38 minutes ago. Back on the stand for another day of testimony, the prosecution will continue direct questioning of what is supposedly their last witness in the trial. Breaking news 38 minutes ago, NBC is saying this is the last witness of the trial as far as the prosecution is going to call. Then it's going to start being Diddy's witnesses. Combs didn't want to use protection. Former girlfriend testifies. Jane was asked what protection she and entertainers used during these hotel nights. She said none because Diddy didn't want it. She said she asked Diddy at least twice if the entertainer could wear protection. And the second time she asked was at a Miami hotel, and he responded almost incensed, and he guilt tripped her. He said he didn't want to see it while he was watching. 4 minutes ago, NBC, Rebecca Cohen and Adam Rice, Jane sobs as she describes encounters with partners during freak-off, sobbing. She broke down in sobs as she described encounters with partners during the alleged freak-offs or debaucheries or hotel nights that she said could go on for multiple rounds. So she was calling them rounds, not sessions. When she wanted to stop for the time, she said she would tell Diddy she was tired, to which he would respond, "You're not getting tired on me, are you? Let's finish strong." She said through tears she didn't know why she didn't outright tell Diddy she wanted to stop, and that he would give her multiple doses of substances per night in order to keep her awake. It's like so sick. Let's finish strong, he said. Got a bunch of updates from the Washington Post. Let's start with an hour ago. This is Wesley Parnell, Washington Post. As with every day of this trial, there is a line to enter the courtroom. Spectators and live streamers show up remarkably early to put their names on a list that will guarantee them access to the main courtroom where Diddy sits. On Friday, that's today, one spectator, the jury is, okay, breaking news. I did not even know this. The jury is deliberating in the Harvey Weinstein trial right now, today. On Friday, one spectator said he had to leave the trial by lunch as he hoped to catch the verdict in disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein's trial 2 buildings over, where the jury is in deliberations. There are cameras everywhere Friday, that's today, in Lower Manhattan. An hour ago, Diddy entered the courtroom wearing a dark sweater over a white collared shirt. Like most days, he spoke with his lawyers, hugging some of them, looked into the gallery, and maintained a relaxed and collegial demeanor. He has visibly taken an active role in his defense, conferring with his attorneys and passing notes during witness testimony. Testimony from those who worked with or under Diddy described him as an involved chief executive. It seems he takes the same posture with his attorneys. 33 minutes ago, the parties are discussing how much evidence can be allowed as part of Jane's testimony, including 6 years of text messages between 2 of Diddy's personal assistants that the government wants to admit. So I don't know if it was 6 years between 2 personal assistants or if it was between Cassie and KK, if they're talking about the same thing, if they're talking about different things, I don't know. Prosecutors have culled some of the messages at the request of the defense, but Diddy's team is arguing there's still too many. The judge is going to allow the text messages insofar as they're relevant, so they still are going to have foundation laid. It's not like they can just pick one out of the pile and say, let's read a text. The glimpse we saw included communications about cleaning hotel rooms. Okay, so again, a lot of these things are going to be hidden from the public, hidden even from the press, hidden from all of us for weeks and possibly forever. Some of it will probably be redacted forever. Jane is back on the stand, testifying under a pseudonym. She spoke yesterday of how her passionate and exciting, sometimes taboo, relationship with Diddy devolved into forced acts under financial duress. She's shaky but resolved. She's looking down at her hands and taking deep breaths before giving a terse, slight smile to the courtroom. 24 minutes ago, Washington Post, Wesley Parnell, quote, "He wanted me to be wild and sensual," Jane testified, describing Diddy's instructions to her during the freak-offs. So he would say, like, "Where's my freak? I want my freak." The prosecution witness, testifying under a pseudonym, said she asked the male entertainers to use protection on multiple occasions, But she said she eventually stopped trying because Diddy preferred her to have no protection. He did not want to see that while watching, she testified. Yesterday, she told jurors that freak-offs would typically last 24 to 30 hours, during which Diddy would watch her and the escorts perform acts while he took care of himself. 7 minutes ago, an audio recording from a freak-off hotel night is playing, in which Jane asked a male entertainer to use protection. He agrees before Diddy can be heard walking into the room. Jane's voice cracks. Okay, we're getting more details from this freak off tape. And apparently they are playing the audio in the courtroom so that the people can hear. This is really disturbing. And it's kind of like weirdly making my eyes water. I can't really explain it. It's just really disturbing. An audio recording from a freak off or a hotel night is playing, in which Jane asked a male entertainer to use protection. He agrees before Diddy can be heard walking into the room. Jane's voice cracks, saying, "You promised," before Diddy says, "You were just taking that bleep." The prosecution is trying to demonstrate that the freak-offs were not always or not totally consensual for partners of Diddy, such as Jane, who's testifying under pseudonym. "I just understood that my request was going to be denied," she told the jury. 8 minutes ago, Jane shuddered, averted her eyes, and broke down in tears as a video of her performing acts in a freak-off played in a courtroom. However, it's not being shown to anybody ever other than the jury. She paused her testimony, took a breath, and collected herself, as she has done 3 times in the past 10 minutes as the footage plays. Diddy leaned in alongside his attorneys to watch the video, which he recorded. Due to concerns around anonymity, videos of Jane and freak-offs are being shown to jurors and lawyers, but only the audio is made available for the rest of the court and journalists. I'm surprised the audio is, but I guess they would have had to clear the courtroom out completely. All right, let's see how Inner City Press is handling the reporting of this. He's always so decent and upstanding with his reporting, in my opinion. All right, what? Okay, they were doing a sidebar. All right. 24 minutes ago, why didn't you say no? Jane said he would get agitated. Question, how would these interactions with the entertainers, how would they end? She said, well, they would finish. They would complete the mission on me. And then what? And then what with Diddy? Jane said, then we would have relations. Would you clean up the leftover mess from the earlier incident with the earlier partner? No, Jane said, no, we would not. So they were just in the mess. They were just in the mess. Why not? Oh my God, this is sick. Diddy liked it. Diddy liked to play with it. Then what would happen? She said, then I would take a shower and get ready for the next one. So there would be rounds and rounds with the same entertainer, and they would just do it over and over again. This feels like MK Ultra. I can't deny. Like the repeated, like to the point of exhaustion. And this is just sick. And, you know, innocent till proven guilty, but I kind of believe it. Diddy liked to play around with the other men's mess. I would take a shower afterward, and then I'd get ready for the next one. How many rounds? Typically. Objection. Overruled. Shut up. She said every entertainer was different. Sometimes it'd be three rounds. Who decided, or who would decide if you could stop when you were tired? She said Diddy. And then it says sobs. Do you need a moment? She said, I'm sorry. What was your question? How did you say you wanted to stop? Jane said, I would say, like, I'm hungry. I would make little faces. I try to send him subtle cues. And then what would he say when you would do that stuff? He would say, you're not getting tired on me, are you? Let's go out on a high note. Let's finish strong. And she starts sobbing again. What would Diddy give you to keep you awake and having relations with the entertainers? EX. Did you ever cry? Oh, Lord. Did you ever cry after one of these hotel nights? She said twice. Tell us about the first. She said, I thought it was just a date night, one-on-one. But he said there would be an entertainer, but just a quickie. I hung on to that. It was going to be quick. It was 18 hours. And that could be the fraud or coercion even, because saying it was going to be a quick one, and then it was 18 hours. And she said the whole time I'm sitting here thinking it's quick, it's going to be quick, it's going to be quick. It was 18 hours. And she said, and after 18 hours and 3 rounds with the entertainer, Diddy said he had to leave. And I started crying. Were you with someone else? She said, I was with Sean. P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs. It was in the Waldorf in Beverly Hills, early in our relationship. And what did Diddy say? He said, are you crying? Like looking disgusted. Like, you crying? Then he just sat there listening to music. I was clinging to him. He said he could move things around with him. He said he could move things around with his family, and I could go home with him. I just wanted to be in his arms after all of that. And what about the second time that you cried after one of these hotel nights? She said, I was in the shower after one of these nights. Then the assistant U.S. attorney says, is your memory spotty? What do you remember? She said, I was on so much substances, girl. I don't remember, but I was having relations with Paul. Then I was in the shower with Diddy. He said, stop it. I'm too on substances. Stop. Okay. Then the prosecutor's like, wait, question, Paul? Yeah. He was one of the entertainers. Were these hotel nights work for you? Objection! Objection! Overruled. The judge said, shut up. Be quiet. Sit down. She said, yeah, it was work. It was work from start to finish. What did you do to try to get them to end sooner? She said, I would try to have relations with the entertainers fast. What would you do to try to speed things up? She said, I would do a little bit of before gaming, pre-gaming, but then I would just bring him into the room. And Diddy would say, slow it down. More pre-game. What words would he use? Objection, Your Honor. There's no time frame. The judge said, actually, that one's fair. I agree with Diddy's team on that one. Can you rephrase and make it a smaller time frame of a question? Yeah. Okay. What words would Diddy use from May to October 2023 during the freak-offs to try to get you to slow down? So why are they time framing in that part? Because they broke up for the first time in October 2023. Remember, they got back together February 2024, and then Diddy got arrested his house raided the next month. I would do the pre-gaming, but I'm trying to speed it up because this was work. Diddy would say, slow it down. What words would he use from May to October 2023? May 2021 to October 2023. What words would he say? He would say, I'm not ready to see that yet. And then the Diddy's lawyers are like, can we get a sidebar? And the judge is like, sure. Okay, they're back. All right. So whenever Diddy would say, I'm not ready to see that yet, how did you feel? She said, well, I would want to be with Diddy at the end. So where would you go? To his residence. Was there any part of these hotel nights that you actually enjoyed? She said, yeah, being with Sean, being with Diddy. Would you ever text him? Yes, she said. I would text him to say, I love you. Did you ever text him that you wanted to have relations with him? Yeah, I did. But I would say I wanted to have relations with him, not all these other dudes. And did you text him and say you wanted to have relations with others sometimes? She said, yeah, but that was his fantasy. Did you tell you want to text? I don't know what this question is. I don't know what that question is. Okay, let's refresh. Okay. Did he tell you what to text? Yes. He's asked, what do you want? Be explicit. So why did you write that stuff? Jane said, I wanted to make my lover happy. Okay, look at this one from November 9th, 2021. What did you write? She wrote, I'm aroused for you. Okay, you don't have to read this, but did you write, I wanna suck Paul bleep? Did you write that? Why did you write that? She said, I knew it would turn Diddy on. Who is Paul? An entertainer. You texted him you wanted to stop having hotel nights? Yes. What did you write here? Okay, wow. What did you write here? Jane said, I'm so much more than being left in the dark of a hotel room. My heart is breaking. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. I feel it's the only reason you pay for the house. We need to talk like adults. That's evidence. That is evidence. I'm so much more than being left in the dark of a hotel room. My heart is breaking. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. I feel it's the only reason you pay for the house. We need to talk like adults. Okay. 10 minutes ago, CNN said Jane testifies about the times she cried after hotel nights. Jane was sniffling off and on as she testified about the 2 times she recalled crying after a hotel night. The first time she cried was early in their relationship at the Waldorf in Beverly Hills. She said she thought they were just going to have a one-on-one date night. But then Diddy said they were going to have an entertainer, but it was going to be quick. So here, look, this is not her calling the entertainer. That was one of the weaknesses some people pointed to as a weakness of Cassie's testimony, was that it was her who was calling the entertainers for most of the time. So it was like, how are you going to say you were forced? Now, I do think they made a good case that she was, but here we don't see that issue. This is, look, she said she thought they were going to have a one-on-one date night. But then Diddy said they were going to have an entertainer. So who got the entertainer there? Jane said the entertainer was there for 18 hours. Once they were finished, Diddy said he had to leave, and she started crying. I just went through all that, and I was feeling terrible, and he was going to leave me alone. She said Diddy asked her if she was crying, and he looked disgusted. After that, he started smoking and playing music while she just sat next to him. And he told her that he was going to move things around on his schedule. Jane recalled a second time where she cried after a hotel night, but said it was a spotty memory. She was on EX. She said she only remembers being at Diddy's house, then at a hotel. She recalled that she felt so on substances that she embraced Diddy's butler. I just remember I'm having relations with Paul, and then I remember being in the shower with Diddy, and I just start crying. She said Diddy saw her crying and told her, don't do that right now, because he was too much on substances. She said she stopped crying when he told her to. Who did the most work during these hotel nights? Jane said, me, and her voice was cracking. When asked why she felt that way, Jane said, crying at this point, it was just all me. It was just all me. Poor thing. She's still like really suffering from it. Jane describes what would happen after a hotel night. She would typically go back to Diddy's house together with him. She would make sure Diddy was showered, and then she would cook for him, massage him, and put on one of his favorite shows after she did all that work. Then I would finally get to cuddle with him and sleep with him. And she was choking up while she said all this. She said she would feel really happy to end her night with Diddy. But I would really fight to block out just how sad I felt after. So she's like, I would be happy, but there would be this sadness that I was trying to kind of block out as well. We got an update from NBC News. Diddy directed hotel nights. Witness testified this 14 minutes ago. Jane told the jury that she tried to get hotel nights over with as soon as she could. Diddy didn't like that. He asked her to slow things down and do more pregame. When she tried to speed things up, Diddy would allegedly say, not yet. And he just looks like his breath stinks too. Can we talk about that? Or just crusty and breath stink. Even with all the baby oil, he still just has a crusty energy about him, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Okay, we're back to Inner City Press. How long had Diddy been paying your rent? How long had Diddy been paying your rent? 5 months or so. Did you see substances in the hotel rooms? Yes. I saw EX, Molly Ann, cocaina, a pink powder, I think they call it Tooski. And who gave that to you? Diddy. Did you ever see any of the entertainers taking substances? She said, no. That was my one rule. I told them they couldn't take substances. I didn't want them to be out of control while they were with me. How did the EX make you feel? She said, SUL, energy. Why did you feel you had to take these substances? She said, otherwise, it would have been too real. Why did you feel you had to take the substances? She said, otherwise it would have just been too real. I wanted to, I don't know, feel like sobs. She's crying. It would make things easier. Did you ever do hotel nights without drugs? Yes, twice. Once with Paul. Why didn't you take substances that time? She said, I didn't want to do that to my body, but it was real. It was just too real. So I asked Diddy for a pill. And did he give it to you? Yes. And I felt better. And what about the second time? She said the second time the partner was taking too many pills, and I didn't want there to be pill heaven out here. Okay, we have an update from CNN. Jane messaged Diddy in 2023, I don't want you to feel obligated to perform these nights. Sorry, read that wrong. Jane messaged Diddy in 2023, quote, I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights for you. She said this in 2023. She had conversations with Diddy about wanting to stop having hotel nights. She read out loud a message she sent Diddy in late 2023 where she said she wished they could go back to when they first started dating. And that's what it is. Like, that's the trap. Nobody just walks into a relationship like this. It's not how it happens. Nobody just walks into it. It starts out with the person being really nice and respectful. And that phase never comes back again. It's just gone. It was always just fake. It wasn't real. It's not who they really are. But when you're in it, you can't see that. You can even know, you can even logically know, but it's like, maybe they can. And it's like, no, you just can't. And I've been there. It's not like I'm trying to say like, oh, she's wrong or something. I'm saying it's so natural. It's like just what happens. You desperately want it to go back to those early, they call it the honeymoon phase, those early dates where this abuser wasn't acting like that. Quote, ever since I opened Pandora's box, I've never been able to close it, the message said in part. In the message, she referenced being in hotel rooms, doing things that make me feel disgusted with myself. She said she didn't want to play that role in his life anymore. I feel it's the only reason you have me around and why you pay for the house. I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights for you. She testified that at that point she felt obligated to perform the nights for Diddy, and she was scared that if she didn't, he would stop paying for her house. She testified yesterday that Diddy paid her rent and implied that he would stop if they broke up. Diddy responded to the text, "Girl, stop." Okay, 3 minutes ago, Jane testifies she felt obligated to participate in hotel nights. This is Rebecca Cohen, Adam Rice, and Yang Fang in court, NBCnews.com. Jane said she felt obligated to participate in Diddy's hotel nights. She felt if she did not, he would take her house away from her, which he was paying for. I wish we could take this back to when we first started dating, Jane wrote in a text to Diddy displayed in court. See, I thought they weren't going to be displaying these in court, but they are displaying them in court. Ever since I opened Pandora's box, I haven't been able to close it. That's the truth. That's why yesterday I was saying I never smoked a cigarette. I never tried the cocaine. And you want to know why? Because I might like it. And then what we going to do? What if I like it? You don't got to quit something you never start. That's the opening of the Pandora's box. This is a lesson you can take throughout all of life. But I mean, got to balance it with always trying new things and stuff. But like some stuff you just got to know. And I'm not in any way saying she should have known. I don't even think she could have known. So that's not me saying anything like that. I'm just saying, imagining her thought process during this time, like it's like opening Pandora's box. If I just would have probably said no that first time, maybe it never would have gone down this route. But it's like they only did the FOs like a few months into dating. So it's not like she really knows, I'm sure she goes through this like a lot of people do. I don't want to put thoughts in her head or, words in her mouth, but a lot of people that have relationships like this, they go through that where they're like, if I would have only, this, or if I would have only that. And it's like, really, truly, no. Diddy wanted a freak off partner and that's what he wanted. Like if it wasn't going to be her, it was going to be somebody else. And he probably had these women competing with each other. We know there was jealousy. We know that Lou Pearlman, who started making the band, would have these bands competing with each other, not sexually necessarily, but like it's a model. It's a model to keep people competing with each other so they don't look at you. I wish I could take this back to when we first started dating, she wrote in a text to Diddy displayed in court. Ever since I opened Pandora's box, I haven't been able to close it. She said one night of fun just turned into the entirety of our relationship, adding that she felt disgusted with herself and was confusing. She seems very intelligent and wise. Like the way she writes, she's very like poetic. I was confusing, she said to Diddy, I was confusing your lust for me as love. And this caused her heart to break. She told Diddy in the text she didn't want to play that role in his life anymore. It's dark, sleazy, and makes me feel disgusted with myself. Ooh, and you know he hated that. It's the only, because it's really calling him out. Because this is what, like, I think Capricorn, Clark, or Mia or somebody had said, like, you didn't want to let Diddy know that you knew what he was doing was wrong. You couldn't, I think it was Mia. You couldn't let Diddy know you thought what he was doing was wrong. And here is this Jane Doe saying it's dark, sleazy, and it makes me feel disgusted with myself. It's the only reason you have me around and why you pay for my house. I don't want to feel obligated. Good for her. Telling him, I don't want to feel obligated to perform and fear losing you. I don't want to feel like that anymore. I just want to talk like adults and figure where we go from here. This is like some of the more, correct me if I'm wrong, this is like some of the more intense testimony we've seen and heard. For me, that's how I'm feeling it out. Okay. So the most recent text we read on Inner City Press was where Jane was saying she didn't want to take substances. It felt too real. And then she asked Diddy for a pill. It made her feel better. And then the second time she did an FO, a freak off without substances, the partner was taking too many. He said, I'll do 30 days without substances. I don't know what the partner means. Is it the entertainer or Diddy? He said, I'll do 30 days without substances, but let's have one last sobriety party at the L'Hermitage. And this is the one where the lady came in, the man, what's his name? Zamor? Was that him? Okay, so how long did the one last sobriety party last? Jane said too long, 18 hours. What happened? Jane said, the first guy, the second guy, I wasn't feeling well. I threw up. I told Diddy I had just thrown up. Wow. I told Diddy I had just thrown up. And what did he say? He said, that's good. Now you're ready for the third guy. He's here. How did that make you feel? Jane said, I was disgusted. I was just repulsed. I was just too mad to myself. I was mad at myself. I was mad I let myself get into this. This would be a good place for a break. The judge said, I agree. Y'all, my scalp is tingling right here. Whew. This is, It's too much. It's too much. And you know what? I believe it. Got a CNN update. All right. Let's get the details from Washington Post. Oh, she's got colors on again. I prefer her in a color. Oh my God. He is like the worst mutation of like, everybody has dealt with a person like this. Everybody has probably dated even somebody like this or whatever. Like, everyone has dealt with a person like this, but he's like the grown up, most evolved Pokemon of it. You know what I mean? At least how it's being described. I don't know. Certainly wasn't there. Thank God, because it's traumatizing me even just reading about it. Okay. Wesley Parnell from Washington Post said Jane recalled crying at least twice during freak-offs with Diddy and entertainers, once during a group SEX session at the Waldorf in Beverly Hills when Diddy seemed offended. He said, "Are you crying?" and just looked like disgusted with my face, Jane testified. The second time was in Miami when Jane said she was so on substances she was intermittently blacking out. Jane clung to Diddy's butler in desperation before Diddy made her have relations with an escort. She clung to the butler in desperation. I bet you that butler comes to the stand. I bet you that butler comes to the stand. She clung to the butler in desperation before Diddy made her come back and have relations with an escort. She said she broke down in tears in the shower with Diddy. He just said, "Don't effing do this right now. I'm high and I can't effing see that. I'm too high." I would agree with him on that one. 21 minutes ago, Janice Combs shows up with her white nails, silver. Floral. She wore a floral tracksuit today, and this is her purse. She brings this purse every time. 12 minutes ago, eventually Diddy only wanted to have relations with Jane after she spent hours with a male entertainer. His former girlfriend testified under her court-approved pseudonym. Jane explained that due to her love for and infatuation with Diddy, she longed for one-on-one time with him, which she only got after having relations with other men while Diddy watched. "I started to feel obligated that I had to perform." Her testimony is strikingly similar to that of Cassie, who dated Diddy years before. Yeah, it is strikingly similar. Cassie also broke down on the stand as she said freak-offs were the only time she could get with Diddy. 6 minutes ago, Washington Post, Jane, a former girlfriend of Diddy, is reading a text message from 2023, which she pleaded with Diddy to stop having freak-offs. By that point, he was paying for her rent and living expenses. "Ever since I opened Pandora's box, I've never been able to close it." She read the text and she read it out loud. "I am so much more than being loved in the dark in hotel rooms, doing things that make me feel disgusted. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. It's dark, sleazy, and makes me feel disgusted with myself. I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head." "Girl, stop," Combs replied. Wow. Wow. It's got to be he either hates women or he developed a sexual dysfunction where early on he probably, realized he could pay people to do this type of thing. And then it's almost like, how you're seeing an epidemic, pandemic across the world with young people, especially young men who have developed dysfunctions because they have watched so much pornography and pornographic materials. It's like that's the only way they can function, operate properly. And it has to do with something about, the receptors of the dopamines and the this and the that. I don't know. There's a lot of science on it. Y'all can go read up on it if you want to, but there's like a whole lot of young men right now who are suffering with this because of this access to overtly explicit materials. Like you'll hear people like, Adam Grand Mason or whatever, those people over there, they talk about it and they'll be like, "I don't even get really turned on by anything anymore. Everything's just gross. Like everything's just nasty." Cause it's like, they've been so exposed to like the most raunchiest, depraved stuff that for whatever reason, they've rewired their like receptors. And it's possible that Diddy like just really can only, if that happens first or something. Yeah. Thanks so much, Iris, for the 2 Oilo. Thank you, BJ. You are phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you. BJ, Ugly Dan. How do you have the energy to get this glam every day? You're the best. Make sure you don't get that Diddy pneumonia. I'm saying. I mean, I rebuke. I do not consent. I rebuke, and I'm God's favorite. So that, no. Diddy will get struck if he tries to give me pneumonia. Thank you for the $4.99. Shout out to Ariane, Colin, Maya88, becoming a member. Thank you so much to Lisa Renee for the $49.99 super chat. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, BJ. You have made my gardening so much less mundane. Love your coverage. #respect. God bless you. Sending prayers for protection. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that $49.99. Very generous. Thank you. Thank you, Kel on Earth, for the 99-cent super sticker. Thank you, April, May, June. I've been listening from day one. Thank you, BJ and Mods. You are making my work days fly by. Thank you for the $5 super chat, April, May, June. And with that, speaking of mods, I want to show y'all and say congratulations to I think my first mod ever, Monica. She started her Etsy store. Okay. It is alive and well, so congratulations to her. And it's called Tea Time Gift Shop US. She's got stationery items. She's got some bookmarks. Look at that, how cute. Look at that, how cute. Greeting cards. So if you want to support the mods, also their links are in the chat below. If you want to do a little buy me a coffee, a thankless job. They're doing Whack-A-Troll all day. And let me put the link for her store right here. So everybody tell Monica congratulations for starting her store. Yeah, he did. He said, girl, stop. Well, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, but that's what they're reporting. That is what they're reporting. Isn't that cute? Look at that. That is so cute. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So cute. Monica can do anything. She's so talented. Okay, we have a new update here from CNN. Now that we had a palate cleanse, Jane says she took substances because she didn't want to feel like it was too real. She testified she took substances during hotel nights because she didn't want to feel like it was too real. She said she wanted to make things easier. Her voice began to break again. She recalled that she tried not to use substances during 2 different hotel nights. The first time she said she made the decision because I was tired of doing that to my body. The fantasy of it all wasn't there. She said she didn't like it. The fantasy of it all wasn't there. It just wasn't easy. It was too real that this was happening. I ended up just asking for a pill. She said Diddy gave her one and she felt better. The second time she tried not to use substances was October 2023. And this is right whenever they broke up, wasn't it? And they got back together in 24 in February. She said this was around the time she really wanted Diddy to get sober. She knew it was coming down the pipe. She has an intuition, I think. I think she's intuitive, this lady, whoever it is, Jane. Because she has a really good ability in her text messages to say things in a way that it's like, yeah, she's just, and she says, and she calls it like it is. She said, I wanted him to get sober. What was happening right the next month? October 2023, what happened the next month? Cassie sued. This was right probably around the time where Diddy was either already gotten or he was about to get a demand from Cassie. Or else she was going to sue. Jane wanted Diddy to get sober right around that time. And he agreed to stop taking substances for 30 days, but he wanted to have one last, quote, sobriety party. That is a f***ed up thing to call that. That is a really nasty thing to call that. And it might just be what it's called, but like, it's just literally the opposite of that. It's like, you mean a one last not sobriety party. And you know what's really weird? It looks like this led to their breakup, or at least happened as soon as it. And what did Mia say? Or was it Bana? Bana said she stopped talking to Diddy stopped hanging out with them, rather, stopped seeing him and Cassie after a hotel night, but not this type of hotel night. She didn't describe it as that. She just said it was a hotel night that she did K for 8 hours with Cassie and Diddy in the hotel room, and she just couldn't do that anymore. And Diddy was like, more, 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 more. And it was just like, I just freaking can't, dude. I got to tap out. And then she ended up becoming sober and deciding that very day to become sober, meaning never taking these substances again or not taking them again. She said she really wanted Diddy to get sober around this time. This is Jane. She agreed to stop a year and a half ago. Diddy agreed. He said, okay, I'll stop. Let's have one last sobriety party first. This is like addiction, a person in active addiction behavior for many reasons. It's like, what can you get away with? What can you push? And it's all just in the seeking of the thing you're addicted to. And I actually am starting to believe Diddy was an addict, not just to drugs, but to this. I think he had addiction to it. It was affecting his life. He couldn't function normally without it. It appears over the course of decades. I'm not an expert, but my daddy did overdose and die, and I don't have a daddy now. So I'm an expert as far as that can go. All right. I was raised by somebody, and I love him. I'm not, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is just real. It just happens. But, everybody's experience is different. It truly, really is. It really is. So he wanted to have a sobriety party. Diddy did. He's like, all right, I'll stop for 30 days. So maybe he was going to go to rehab or something. I'll stop for 30 days, but I want to have a sobriety party first. And the sobriety party was at a hotel in Beverly Hills, and it lasted like up to 18 hours. Jane said she didn't take any substances, but Diddy did. He took, because she was done with it too, it seems. He took EX and cocaine. The prosecutor asked Jane how she felt after doing that hotel night without any substances. She said, I was disgusted. I was just repulsed. I was just so mad at myself for doing that. I just deeply regretted that. It's confusing to me. We're getting different reports. It's confusing to me which of these nights are which, because there was one time where she was throwing up. She was throwing up. She didn't feel good. And she was like, I just threw up. And Diddy's like, good. Now you're ready for the next one. And that's when this quote was presented at that point. So maybe it is all the same. And, this is why we read the different sources, but sometimes they do kind of maybe not contradict, but it's hard to reconcile them. Jane testifies. Okay. So we got 3 new updates or so from NBC News. Witness testifies she needed substances to get through hotel nights. This is Rebecca Cohen, Adam Rice, and Yang Fang. Jane said she felt like she had to take substances during the hotel nights with Diddy because when I wouldn't, it would just feel too real. She didn't want to experience this. I just wanted to kind of just feel like it would just make things easier, she said, breaking down in tears. She said she attempted 2 hotel nights without substances. The first, she didn't like it. The fantasy wasn't there. It was too real. It wasn't easy. She ultimately did ask for a pill, after which she said she felt much better. The second time, she said she wanted Diddy to get sober. Okay, so that makes sense. So that's what maybe she meant whenever she said my partner was taking too much of them. I didn't want to take the substances because he was taking so many, and I was trying to get him sober. So I didn't want to be, oh, you need to get sober. Let me do a pill. She was like trying to not do it. He agreed to take 30 days off from the substances, but he said, let's just have one more sobriety party. Wow. The longest hotel night lasted 3.5 days over New Year's 2022, witness testifies. She said it was 3 to 3.5 days. She said she did not sleep at all and stayed awake with the EX. The shortest hotel night ever was still 12 grueling hours long. When asked how she stayed awake, when answered through the use of EX, caffeine, water and protein shakes. This is just debauchery is exactly what it is. This, I think, is worth just one more time reading, y'all. She read this out loud today, her text. Ever since I opened Pandora's box, I've never been able to close it. I'm so much more than being loved in the dark in hotel rooms, doing things that make me feel disgusted. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. It's dark, sleazy, and makes me feel disgusted with myself. I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head. Girl, stop, Diddy responded. Just so callous. The jury is taking a break. Here's what happened so far. Jane, testifying under a pseudonym, took the stand this morning. Yesterday, she detailed an exciting start to her relationship with Diddy. However, time she increasingly became uncomfortable with their sexual dynamics and deepening financial ties. Hotel nights were described in a video recording of a hotel night. Despite Jane asking Diddy to allow the men he directed her to have relations with to wear protection, Diddy was dismissive, and she didn't want to push back and make Diddy unhappy. Through sniffles, Jane testified about 2 times she remembers crying after a hotel night. Typically, after a hotel night, Jane said the pair would go back to Diddy's house. He would shower, and then she would cook for him. So after she did all that work, she would then cook for him, give him a massage, and put on one of his favorite shows before then she would finally get to cuddle with him and sleep with him. That was the part that actually made her happy. To end her night with him. But I would really, quote, but I would really fight to block out just how sad I felt after. She felt obligated to perform. In 2023, Jane said she had conversations with Diddy about wanting to stop having hotel nights and told him via text message that she wished they could go back to when they first started dating, saying in the message, I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights for you. 3 new updates from Washington Post. Oh my God. By 2023, this is Wesley Parnell, 2 minutes ago, Washington Post. By 2023, Jane testified she was concerned for Diddy's health and got him to promise to take a month off from substances. He agreed if they could have one last sobriety party. And y'all know he was not going to take no 1 month off of nothing. He wasn't taking a month off of anything. That was just to get her to do the FO because he knew she wasn't trying to do him no more. In my opinion. I don't know. I wasn't there. The couple booked a hotel in Beverly Hills where Jane struggled without substances herself to perform the sex acts for 12 to 18 hours. After relations with 2 male escorts, she began to throw up. And Diddy came in and, quote, I told him I had just thrown up. And he was like, that's good then. You'll feel better. Let's go because the guy is here, the third guy. The third guy is here. That was the moment it hit her. That was the moment it really hit her. She said it. She was like, I just remember being so mad at myself. Like, how did I get myself into this situation? The first time Jane tried to perform sober in a freak off, it was in 2021. The fantasy of it all wasn't there, and it just wasn't easy. She said she eventually asked Diddy for substances. And this makes me wonder, about these girls that are doing these stunts, these women who are doing 100 men in a day, 600 men in a week, whatever it is. It's like, how are they able to get through all that if these ladies are having these breakdowns, understandably, after the third person? Now, I know it's not, marathons, but oh man, Lord bless them. Lord, get them and bless them. It is shameful, and I can understand how it's just once you even do it one time, who are you going to go tell? Who are you going to go tell? People are going to be like, you shouldn't have did that. That was nasty. So once you even do it one time, it's like just the shame of telling people it happened. you know? 2 minutes ago, Diddy's lawyers are crowding around him at the defense table while the court is on a short break. On the defendant's right, on Diddy's right, is lead attorney Mark Agnifilo. Brian Steele is leaning in on his left. Shapiro is hovering over his shoulder. Diddy is speaking animatedly, gesturing with his hands as if frustrated or trying to get a point across. I bet you he is pissed. Because I think my psychological evaluation of Diddy is that the thing he wants the least is for people to be disgusted with him and for everyone to unanimously agree that this was depraved and disgusting. He was nasty. Something is wrong with it. Kinkshaming.com city. Okay. I kink shame over here. I do. If you don't like kink shaming, you could go. You could stay too, but I do it over here. This should be shamed. This should be shamed. He should be ashamed of himself. After the men get their mess all over her, she don't take a shower. They roll around in it. Him with the girl and Diddy with the other man's mess still on her. Then what we heard Cassie saying where I can't even repeat it, but Diddy basically wanted some other man's stuff to be, put on him all over his naked body and stuff.